Hello, welcome to Midwife Monday. Barely making it to my own live today. Had scheduled it for the wrong time, I guess. Mercury is fully affecting things in retrograde, or that's just my excuse for continually struggling with time zone stuff. Anyway, here we are. We made it. I'm still unpacking, so not quite such a lovely view today, but that's okay. I'm back in Kentucky at home and in my office today. So I'm super excited to be here with you. And I'd love to know who's here. I see Stephanie and Alexa and Jill. Hello, everybody. Love to know who else is here. If you're new, it's always nice to hear or see, I guess, where you are from and any questions or topics you already are just burning to ask. Give a couple minutes here for getting on. Sam and Madeline and Danielle, who I assume is back in New Jersey, right? Laura, Angelia, all my favorite people that I got to see, many of you, in person. Was that only 2 days ago? That was only 2 days ago. That was so fun. We had a free workshop here. I'm actually in the next room here at my office in Berea, Kentucky, and I thought it was super fun. Many of you here joined me and we got to watch, gosh, was it eight or nine maybe birth videos, which is so fun. And it's really, really exciting to see people learning and getting engaged in what birth actually looks like. And lots of people from afar as well. Danielle here from New Jersey. Who was the farthest? I think we had people from Maryland, people from Arkansas, and I don't know. My geography isn't the best at the moment, so I don't know who wins the award. Seems like there were lots of awards for long car trips. New York was another one. So that was really cool. It was so great to have people from all over, and I'm hoping even more people will want to teach that workshop. So if you do want to, you had better be in our Birth Warrior Project, our doula training, and that is the place where we have all the materials. So if you want to teach it in New Jersey, I know Danielle has there, or wherever you're from, join us in the Birth Warrior Project. It's a really, really awesome training, 4-month doula training. And you too can have access to the free workshop materials. And we'd love if you did that anywhere in the world. So even in Sweden, Dahlia, anybody, anywhere. Although the version I taught on Saturday was admittedly different than the one in the course, just because I can, and I've been teaching it for a long time in general. So every now and then I need to switch it up to just keep myself engaged and interested. And that was a sort of new version. I think I taught that in Sedona twice before I left, but it was a sort of new version. And of course, there's always new birth videos, which is very exciting. And we're always so grateful, of course, to all of the clients and women that we've served that allow us to show them. It wouldn't be a class without those videos, right? It wouldn't be half as good without watching these amazing women give birth in their unique ways and allowing us to watch it. It really is so, so beautiful. Hello, Elise. Good to see you all. So that was kind of a brief introduction, I guess, of my weekend, which mostly was the free indie birth workshop, along with retrieving, no pun intended, a new puppy yesterday for one of our kids. So it was a very full weekend. And then here this morning in my office, it's Midwife Monday all day. So saw a couple of lovely pregnant women this morning that are local, and just really excited to see how that is developing, being a midwife here in the great state of Kentucky in this area, and just so happy to work with the really awesome families I've met so far. So it was a good morning, and then we took a park trip. So time to go to the park today, play outside, and now I'm back. I'm back to pull a card for you. So let's see, this deck, I'm taking a break from the tarot deck this morning or this afternoon. And this is the Roots and Wings deck. I've used this one many times. So another one of my favorite decks. I guess I would consider these oracle cards, which she also calls this an oracle deck. So it's not a tarot deck, not exactly the same, but kind of cool anyway. So I thought I'd do something different today and pull two cards. And I'm going to pull them with the intention of the first one being what is needed as far as the light. So if we consider light and then the opposite of that being shadow, that's kind of how I'm going to structure it. So the first card is what is needed and what is the light, maybe for me, maybe for you, whoever, I don't know who it's for. And then the second card will be the shadow, and that's not meant to be thought of as a negative card or anything dark, really. Like shadow is just the natural part of light. And so when we pull a card for the shadow, it's to me what can be learned through the shadow. So what can be learned through the meaning of the card that might be sort of hidden. So the light meaning is usually pretty obvious, kind of like what you intuit, what you see. And then the shadow is sort of the opposite in a way of the light meaning. So it may feel negative, but it also may not. Okay, so enough talking. Let's see what our light card is today. So this is what's needed as far as the light. Ooh, duality. That's a pretty card. I like those circles and just like the intersection. What is the intersection of duality, right? Probably there lies the truth, is how I feel about it. Black and white doesn't often serve us too well in birth or even in worldview. So the magic with two opposing views, or however you want to think about it, is what we have in common. So I guess where is the duality feeling like it's happening for you right now? And the world is a great example. Man, I could rant today. I'm not going to. And I'm not afraid of it, but YouTube is also removing people for ranting and saying certain things, which is beyond my comprehension. So I may not be on YouTube too much longer. I would definitely continue these Midwife Mondays somewhere else. But yeah, my rant was just going to be about the world and how dualistic it is right now and how it's all about wrong or right. And everybody thinks they know and, all the things. So where is the magic in that? Where do we actually believe the same things? That's a challenge. I'm going to have to think on that one a little bit because I feel at the moment pretty emotionally resistant to imagining that there is some common ground. That's the truth. Okay, so let's pick another card for shadow and what work we might need to do to bring it into the light. This one's jumping out. Ooh, vulnerability. Yeah, so if that's a part of ourselves we're hiding, perhaps, I don't know. This is just my like off the cuff interpretation. You might have your own. Feel free to have your own. If we're hiding that we do have hearts, that we do care, that we do have compassion, what do we need to do for ourselves to bring that into a different phase, a different feeling? So not the shadow. How do we work with that to bring it into the light? Yeah, vulnerability is wearing your heart on your sleeve, right? That's like almost literally what the card is. So I guess how can we make that our superpower in a powerful way, right? Without feeling like it's a liability or a shadow. Because sometimes being vulnerable feels like it doesn't get you anywhere and it makes you weak and it makes you not able to stand up for yourself. But of course, there's so much strength in vulnerability. So I don't know. That's my offering today. I'd love to hear any thoughts or interpretations that you want to share in the comments about those. It seems like these card readings are pretty on almost always. Although it was funny last week, right? I had Margot with me, who I'm very dearly missing, and those were her cards. So I felt like that was a different experience. Our cards definitely reflect our own energy and they kind of become ours, like the way a pet does or something like that. So, and these are so great. Thank you. Thank you, cards. Gratitude for these cards. I haven't used these in a while, so they got overshadowed by the new tarot deck. Maybe they were feeling a little sad and lonely in my bag. I will make sure to keep them out because they really are so special. And there's something about the simplicity of these that I love that are so different from tarot. All right. Well, what shall the topics be today? I would love to hear some ideas. If you're new here, it usually just turns into me talking about something that somebody suggests. I don't often come with my own topic just because I'm really open. I'm really open to just flowing with what is needed today from the people out there rather than having a predetermined topic. My podcasts, I like to think of as predetermined topics for the most part. And I really need to get back to those. So I don't know, maybe I need some encouragement or something. It's just been really busy. And having been traveling and all that, it was impossible to think of recording anything. So topics, suggestions, questions, all is welcome. Not to put all of you that were at the free workshop on the spot, but I'm sure you have some lingering topic or comment you wanted to make at the class on Saturday that perhaps, you didn't feel we had time for or whatever. So I would love to hear from you or any of you out there. So, oh, thank you. Yeah, Jill, thank you for the reminder. So I haven't been recording my own podcast very well lately. Yeah, again, it's been a struggle. I was so committed to once a week, and I need to just find that commitment again. I think it's been perfect with how it's flowed with moving and traveling, but I think I'm in a space where I could definitely commit to doing a podcast every week. So I'm going to try is the worst word, isn't it? I'm going to think about how I want to do this going forward and maybe have some kind of idea of some topics I want to do, and that will keep me motivated. And I do have a whole list of topics always going on my phone. So it's really kind of funny that it would seem like I'm pondering what to talk about. I have too much to talk about, but I need to commit to the time. So Nathan and I recorded a new podcast. We recorded 4 episodes last week, and that felt like a major win. To do that with him, he's been so busy, and I've been away, and I really would rather record at home where I have this good microphone. So we knocked out 4 episodes on Friday, which is really fun and exciting. And the first episode has been released. I think it's number 12. So that one's called The One About the Midwife and the OB. If you don't know about that podcast, it was about storytelling. And he was on Charles Eisenstein's podcast, which maybe you have all heard. I have not heard it yet. It is out there, but I also need to find time to listen to that. But I'm excited too. So we were kind of talking after the fact, after he had recorded that, about storytelling and birth. And I think we probably could have talked about that like a lot of the topics we choose for a full hour. But 20 minutes is the limit for this podcast. And that kind of happened really naturally. It wasn't something we thought about beforehand, although we had agreed we didn't want to ramble on and on and on because, there's enough of that. So we settled at the 20-minute mark kind of naturally with the first few episodes. And then that's the way it's been, 20 minutes. So really you can listen to them super quick, and I hope you're enjoying them. It'll be fun to release the next 3. Yeah, mothering podcasts. I'm going to put that on my list and just see what's coming up. There's a lot going on in our family, so I'm sure I can dig up a few good topics to talk about. My oldest daughter is away for a month, and this is the first time she's really been away from home ever for this long, kind of on her own. And so that's feeling really bittersweet. It's feeling sad, for me, sad to not have like one of my best friends around, but happy for her that she's working and happy and, learning to live her life the way she wants to. So it's definitely a new thing, a new horizon, and perhaps I could talk about that. Lauren, I think you mean Sarah, who is Nathan's friend, right? She's a midwife at the farm. And I have not met her. So I'm looking forward to that. And I think I'll get to meet her maybe virtually at some point soon, and then maybe in real life. I haven't ventured down to Tennessee. In fact, I was just saying to someone that as long as we've been here, it's been great. And it's only been 3 months. And I just spent almost 3 weeks in Minnesota. So it just hasn't been enough time here to like get out beyond our house, really. A little bit north to city, Louisville, but nothing else. So I'm sure we'll make a list soon and put all the things on there, all the places in Tennessee we want to go. And I was just saying this next summer, right? This summer that's coming, I want to make sure that we have a trip to the beach planned. So all kinds of fun places to explore with living in a very central location, which is how Kentucky feels. Way different than Arizona, of course, in a million ways, but not being kind of landlocked the way Sedona felt is a huge difference. And this class was a great example. This free workshop was a great example of being in a central location. In Sedona, I had been teaching that class for 6 years. And by the time I left a couple months ago, it was super packed all of the time for the last 2-3 years, I would say. Super packed, tons of RSVPs, people from all over the place. But it took 4 or 5 years to build it up to that point. And here in Kentucky, I didn't advertise or anything. All I did was send it out to our newsletter list. And it was probably, on an Instagram story a couple of times, but, no Facebook advertising, no local advertising at all. And we had a packed room. In fact, it was very packed. And the ladies that were there that are also here today can attest to the fact that like there wasn't even enough room in the room, which I didn't know would happen, of course. So that was really fun to see it kind of take off so quickly. And I'm already thinking about doing another one, I think in December. So in December before the holidays. And I might try getting the word out more locally in whatever ways I can, rather than, having people from all over, which was super cool. But because it's such a deliberate community event that I, kind of want to put some effort in that direction. There's so many people around here, so many people, and I'm sure so many of them are pregnant. So I would love to try that out and see how that works out, just as a change of pace, because obviously just using the indie birth list was enough to fill a room, which is really great. And I'm so, so grateful for that. It's taken many, many years, to get to that point. Aw, that's so great, Laura. I just love you and all of you, Angelia and Sam, and all of the women here locally that I've met. And you guys might be the core group of who I've met. I haven't met too many people outside of that, and all for good reason. I'm perfectly happy with that. I think just the right people are coming in, and they're just the right relationships. They feel really good, and I'm really, really excited about us all working together in all the ways, whether it's supporting women at their home births or starting some women's circles and mama circles and postpartum mama circles here where we can all contribute and help and, send our women that we're working with to be with each other. Because I do agree, whoever just said it, Jill, that people need people. And if women are pregnant right now, even more so. So I guess that's one of my community dreams. And, I know there's a bunch of communities around too. So I'm not in Lexington, I'm not super, super close to any of the cities, but I'm sure there's tons of people around here too. So I think the ideas will just come in as they are supposed to. And probably next year, we'll start off with a bunch of great ideas, I hope, wonderful people, and ways of collaborating all together in ways that make this really, really work. That would be great. But I was so excited after the workshop. To be honest, it's kind of draining, which I'm sure is not hard to imagine. Talking for 3 hours straight, is great and also really exhausting. So showing the videos gives me a break. And I think the videos are way more powerful than anything I could say. People really get to see how birth works. They get to see how autonomous midwifery works. And then it's up to them, right? That's what I love about that class is like, I don't feel like it's too preachy or judgmental. I feel like it's just what it is. And then people go home and maybe they talk about it and maybe they don't. And maybe they had this plan for their birth and now they're thinking about this plan, right? So it's all about exploration and curiosity and change and really getting to the heart of what each of us want when we're having a baby. So I really never get tired of teaching it. I really don't. I think every month would feel like too much probably, but every other month or every 3 months is perfectly reasonable. And if you guys all come back, which I'm sure you'll come again at some point to another one, you're always welcome. It's always a little bit different. It's always a little bit different based on who's in the room. Sometimes there's a lot of birth workers. Sometimes there's a lot of pregnant women. Sometimes there's a lot of people that are like really home birth supporters and they already kind of know this stuff. And then often there are people that are brand new. They have never even heard of home birth. This is all just like something new and exciting to them. So anyway, I'll be here doing that. I'm so excited to continue that. And perhaps you other local ladies, will want to use the space for stuff or we'll figure out how to work together. That would be really, really amazing. And I think really important for building what we want, which I think collectively is just more powerful births, stronger families, healthy babies, healthy moms, and not just physically healthy, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally healthy so that our communities are stronger. So that's my blab about the free workshop. Sorry to all of you, I guess, that weren't there. But again, it's possible to teach this in your area or find maybe someone near you that is teaching it in the same way. Okay, I'm reading some of the comments. Yeah, Lauren, I love that topic about older kids and finding their passions. So I think I'll save that for a podcast. I love your idea for more mothering podcasts. And I'm sure there's some way to work it into just like some older kid discussions because I don't think I've done that. So I will make note of that when I'm done here and I'll add that to my list. I really like that idea. Sure. I don't know who Moose Ruby is, but I like the name. Yeah, I don't think that there is a time limit. As long as you are here and alive and well. My friend Valerie, who's often here, I don't know that she's here today, but Valerie in Prescott, she is a graduate of the Indie Birth Midwifery School. I don't want to say how old she was when she graduated because I don't quite know, but Valerie has 14 children and many, many grandchildren. So, she waited until her kids were pretty much grown to formally pursue midwifery. And actually, she did an interview very recently on our Instagram. So go to Indie Birth Instagram, and she did an interview. It's one of the last 3 posts, I want to say. Did an interview with Maida, another lovely Indie Birth Midwifery School student, about her path. So yeah, I think it's totally awesome. And the wisdom that Valerie brings to the table is really, really special. So I think that is a beautiful phase of life to get into birth work if that's what works for you. And it totally has to work for you. You really just can't do this if it doesn't work for you. Yeah, so many good comments. Well, and Laura and Angelia, I don't know, I can't remember if I said this to you all, but I could also, come up to Lexington and teach that class if we had a location. And that would bring in different people, and just like people from other places. So that's totally a possibility. It's just lately with all the craziness, I haven't pursued that. I don't even know where that would be or how that would work, but it's not unheard of. When I was in Arizona, I'd often travel, down to Phoenix or wherever if somebody wanted to host it. And then we kind of worked together on getting people there, and they were usually just as full and just as fun, but not in my office. So that totally is an offer if that, if you end up coming across a location, or even have a client or somebody that has like a gigantic house that they want to loan out for an afternoon and be part of a fun birth workshop, we can totally do that. Yeah, the being afraid of birth is definitely something that's out there in the younger generation. And I think we were saying after the workshop finished with a couple of ladies that were here that also haven't had children yet, that getting to the younger girls is really important. So, in some ways, having a workshop like this where women are already pregnant, is beneficial, but it doesn't reach them soon enough. So, I would love to, and this is like one of a million ideas again, tailor that kind of workshop to teenagers. I don't know, maybe 13 and up or something like that, and offer it in a way that attracts them to come and teach them how it works. And then alongside of that, maybe there are some other topics, like teaching about how cycles work and all kinds of things like that. So, those of you that have that energy and maybe you haven't quite decided what your birth focus is, if you're someone that like wants to be in birth but hasn't figured out which way you're going, I think that's a great way to start. You can just start offering that kind of information. A long time ago, I want to say like probably 5 or 6 years ago, I had a couple of mother-daughter circles like at my office space. And it was really beautiful. I had a couple of books I was using that, of course, I won't remember right now. Although one of them actually was called Moon Mother, Moon Daughter. It was great. It had like crafts and little meditations and stories. And for the couple circles that we did, I just chose things out of there. So it was a way for mothers to come with their daughters. And most of them didn't have cycles yet, if I remember. They were kind of like, I want to say 9 or 10 and up. So just sitting in a simple circle, hearing grown women talk, having the chance to offer something themselves. I think the one I remember was talking about intuition. So talking about intuition with 9 and 10-year-olds in a circle, explaining what that means, telling a story, asking them if they've ever felt that they should or shouldn't do something. And, it was really, really fun. And then there was a craft of some kind. And I don't remember, just like social time, snacks. Snacks brings kids in, snacks and social time. So as I'm talking about it, it makes me feel really wistful in a sense that we didn't continue that. And now my older girls are past that point, but I have other girls, I have an 11-year-old, I have a 7-year-old, I have a 4 and a 2. So I have plenty of girls to keep trying this on. And maybe I'll meet people here that want to do that. I think it does take women in a certain place just in their own knowledge, perhaps, or their own confidence with their bodies to want to come to a circle with their daughter and know that these topics are going to be explored. So, cycles might come up, sexuality, there's all kinds of things that we can't be afraid to talk about, but it's so much easier in a group with support. So, I think somebody that's not like an idea unique to me or anything. But if you like that idea, you should totally do it and start one in your community. And like I said, maybe the universe will show me that that's something I can do again here if people kind of come forward. If I recall, the drawback in a sense was that I didn't want to host it every month. I am not a hostess in that way. So I'm happy to have the idea, kind of bring people together, maybe offer the circle or every few months. But really, I was hoping that the other mothers would pick up the slack and we could figure it out together. And it just didn't happen that way. So I suppose it wasn't the time, but women's circles are hard for that way, in that way, I think. I don't think one person can lead a whole group of women all of the time, every single month. And I don't think we should all even want that, right? Because every time someone different leads, it has a different energy, it has a different flavor, different ideas. So it's a great idea, but a community has to work together on it. Moose and Ruby, I love it. Our new dog has the name of Ollie, which is kind of cute and funny. That's very much Belgium, my daughter's doing. That's her dog. Well, maybe some of you younger folk here with me, Angelia and Laura, not to keep picking on you, but you two would be so perfect to start doing that work and finding out where all these young girls are and how we could bring them together in a really non-threatening and cool way that would be so fun for them and also really help them. I mean, I can't imagine if I had known some of the stuff that I know now then, right? The cycle stuff and just how sacred the blood is and how to honor your body and how to connect with your intuition. It's really such a gift, of course. So, yeah, Belgium wound up with a new dog because she left her dog in Arizona. It was a very old dog that had some health issues, and we were willing to bring it, but I'm glad we didn't because I think it would have run away on our property. It was kind of a wanderer type, and it found a really wonderful new home with a very dear friend. So Belgium was sad, but she saw that the dog was going to do better staying. And so that was the promise. She's waited a couple months for this promise to come to fruition. As far as like the first moon, like first bleeding, I've had two daughters now who have walked through that initiation. So I'm not a huge expert, but I've really just gone with whatever felt right for them. So yes, there's all kinds of fun ideas out there from parties to ceremonies, but my two daughters, at least, they felt pretty private with it. And we're not in a women's circle, or we weren't in Sedona. So they really weren't surrounded with lots of other women that felt supportive to them. I mean, definitely like a couple of my friends I can think of, and other mothers of their friends that they're close to. So they definitely do have other women in their life, but they were still kind of private about it. So we didn't do anything like huge in public. It also isn't a secret, has never been a secret. It's not necessarily mine to share, I mean, it's not my cycle. But when they are experiencing bleeding and, in different parts of their cycle, they're very vocal about it. And it's very open in our house, and pretty much everybody knows what's happening. So it's not secretive, but the beginning of it seemed like special to them. And so I kind of can't even remember, but just honoring it, just saying kind words. And I honestly don't remember if there were gifts involved or anything. Um, so it's kind of a funny thing. Like, on one hand, yes, it's super important and special, and we want to make sure that girls understand, like, this is sacred and this is an initiation of life. And then on the other hand, it is really just a normal part of life. So it is to be celebrated, but to what extent, I think, is just highly, highly personal. And my girls didn't really want a public celebration. So, yeah, Jill, I feel that too. Like, a mother daughter thing is what we did for both of them. And like I said, I can't recall exact details, but something like a moonstone necklace. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, cycle stuff is so amazing. Yeah, I think I've shared this on another Midwife Monday, but whatever. I went to a women's retreat once in Canada a couple years ago. I was actually there to teach about birth, do some speaking, and I got to hang out, as a normal person, which is totally how it should be. I was just a normal person there, just another woman. Um, but I didn't know, the rest of the women as well as they knew each other. But still, they invited me in, and I remember this circle where everybody went around and told the short story of their first moon cycle. And there was probably 40 women in the circle. And almost every single one had a tearful kind of emotional story of that first time, just because for so many of us, it was not celebrated, and it was maybe embarrassing or, shameful or just brushed under the rug. So it was really interesting hearing those stories and realizing, oh, yeah, I mean, I'm not alone in mine wasn't special. I remember my mom wasn't even home. It was a Saturday. She wasn't home. And I was too embarrassed to just tell my dad. So I went over to my neighbor's house. She was my age, and she had gotten her cycle first. So she was the safest person I could think of. But yeah, it definitely wasn't a feeling of like love and excitement and feeling honored or, or privileged or anything. It was more of like, oh, I guess that's what I have to deal with now. But I know I'm not alone in that. Most women have those sorts of stories. So I guess if we want to change the way women feel about it, then we have to teach differently and do our own work too to kind of process some of that and not let it be carried on through our daughters and even our sons. Like I said, in our house, nothing is a secret. I don't think my sons want to sit around and talk about bleeding, but they don't seem particularly uncomfortable with it. They know that that's how it goes, and they know there's also like emotions and other things that usually surround it. And I think that's really healthy because they probably will have female partners, and good for them, good for them to have a bunch of sisters and have heads up on the whole thing and not act like it's something we don't talk about. Yeah, Jill, that's a great suggestion. I do have that book. And Lucy Pierce in general has a lot of wonderful titles, not just about cycle stuff, but all kinds of powerful women stuff. Lisa Lister is another author I've mentioned before. Code Red is a cool book. There's all kinds of great books out there, thankfully, right? Thankfully, it's a somewhat new thing, right? In the last 5 years, I would say, not even 10, maybe, but it feels pretty recent to me. 5 years, 5 to 7 years, where there's lots of publications out there about cycle magic and how to embrace it and how to structure your life with it. So definitely, I know I've talked about this before here. Right, you're right, Haley. It's a ancestral wound for a lot of women. And I don't know either. I wonder how far back I would have to go in my own lineage where maybe it was different. But I don't know. I'll never have the answer to that. So it's only going forward and removing that shame. And I do have a podcast out there somewhere in the archive called The Sacred Blood Mysteries. So you might all enjoy that if you haven't heard it. and just more talk around this, how bleeding is one of the major life initiations. It's not the only one, just like birth isn't the only one, and how our blood really symbolizes our power. So that's interesting to think about, even when you do start to talk about birth. Postpartum hemorrhage is a topic that comes into my mind because we are afraid often of our power, and we hide it. And it's no different with the physicality of what's coming out of our bodies. So if you think about it, menstrual blood is, other than childbirth, which is similar blood, um, the only blood that is released in power, not as a result of pain or injury. So it's really, really different. And it's just sometimes even that simple awakening to that fact that can like snap some women out of the shame or, um, even just like the ickiness of it that a lot of us have felt in the past, right? Bleeding and blood, and oh, I can't do this and I can't do that. It feels this way coming out of my body, rather than like, wow, this is my power. And women bleed into the earth. Blood is an amazing offering, especially if you go to like a moon circle. I know my friend Christina in Arizona hosts one every month, and the women that are bleeding do utilize their blood in the circle as an offering, because it's really that powerful. Stem cells and all kinds of amazing healing properties. And also, I would say probably the same with postpartum bleeding. So there's so much wisdom in our bodies and in our blood in particular. And it's really just cultural programming and mainstream narratives that have us thinking it's shameful. So somehow this wound up to be a moon cycle talk. I'm never quite sure what's going to happen here. But I guess that's what we needed today, all of us. I am hoping to get a cycle back. I hope that's not too much information for you too, but hasn't happened yet. He'll be 11 months in 4 days. And for me, that's pretty normal. Yeah, it's pretty normal, but I've certainly gotten it back sooner. So, I'm kind of in the zone of waiting to see what my body wants to do. But he's nursing so much still, that I think my body is doing the wisest thing, which is suppressing ovulation, right? And yeah, Jill, the next initiation, perimenopause and menopause. Yeah, we could make a timeline, of all the initiations in one's life, and how to honor them. Because yeah, totally, moon cycles and birth certainly aren't the only ones. And then men have different ones, I'm sure. So many ways to celebrate being a human in a physical body. And yeah, really, really, really appreciate that and be grateful for the experiences that we have, and treat them that way, treat them as initiations. And so, yeah, I know it is no surprise to anyone that we would frame them that way. Yeah, no, that's a great last question, Lauren, even though it's definitely, not cycle related. That's okay. Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, right. I'm just reading here. Sorry. Yeah, I feel pretty strongly that our experience of being female in female bodies is important, and the experience of the feminine cannot be separated from that. So we have like the physicality of, having a uterus and that kind of thing, which I guess people can try to alter themselves to have those parts. But the essence of femininity, is that the word? Is inseparable to me. So I guess my short answer is people are free to call themselves whatever they would like. They're free to do whatever they would like with their bodies. I think that is always where I will be from a standpoint of autonomy. and trust that each of us knows what's best. But I think women are the ones that give birth and will always give birth. And and to be a woman isn't just a body, it's the feminine essence in there in whatever ways you express it. So I'm not saying we all express being feminine in the same ways, but again, we're talking about initiation and the sacred rites of passage, and that is a gift that women were given in the ways we were, like to birth a baby, right? And to be male and to have masculinity as separate. And of course, then we get to the fact that every being really has a balance of masculine and feminine energy. So just because you're female and you're, feminine energy, doesn't mean that that's all you have. So it's a very complicated topic where I think the world, the mainstream narrative, here it is again, narrative, the mainstream narrative wants us to fight each other because everything is black and white, and they want us to point fingers, and they want us to talk about inclusivity only because they're actually promoting, right, shunning people. You shun me, I shun you, you do this, I do that. So I just don't play that game anytime that, yeah, duality. Good for you, Jill. Anytime that people try to get me to engage in a negative conversation, and that's not happening here, of course, but whatever, way back when we'd get maybe nasty messages on Facebook, or all kinds of hateful comments that we don't support men having babies. Call it what you want. I don't call it hate. I don't have hate for people choosing what to do with their bodies, but you will not tell me that men have babies. And you're not going to tell me that at the click of a button, or, the flip of a switch, that somebody suddenly is reversing everything that they came into this world with. Like, it's just disrespectful to women that are birthing. Women are special, and men are special, but I'm not a man in this life, so I'm not going to speak to that. Women are special, and I think it's really important that we recognize where our power is, and that when we're being asked to give it away like that, just because we're told if we don't, then we're hateful, or we're not inclusive. You just got to not, just don't. It's like everything else that's going on right now. The mainstream narrative wants to pull you into guilt and blame and shame, but it's only possible if you don't know who you are. It's absolutely only possible if you don't know who you are. So to me, it's not a discussion. I have no argument with someone about it. If someone walked in my office today and was, lovely and resonant with everything that I believe in my own life and teachings, and wants to be called something in particular, I'm all for it. But don't tell me how to talk, and don't tell me how to write, and don't tell me the work I'm doing is whatever word you're going to use, because I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. And I think it's really important that those of us that feel the same, and again, this is a positive way of feeling. It's not this hate fight thing, because once you get wrapped up in that, nobody wins, right? And it makes me think of the duality card, like where the two things meet. Like, there is nowhere that they meet if you're going to get caught in the hate drama, and you're going to allow yourself to be played. So I think that's what's happening. I agree. I think it's a huge agenda of just confusing the absolute fuck out of our teenagers, who are our up and coming generation. We're pumping them full of toxins and telling them they may not have a choice. And we're telling them there's all these crazy, confusing possibilities where essentially they'll be giving away their power. So that's my long and short answer. I think it is actually a really great topic in the ways that any of these things are right now, just speaking our truth and not being hateful, but really standing for what feels right for us, because I think it is important to to stand in your truth for exactly the reason you just mentioned, Haley. It's way easier to control people when they're confused and when they feel like they don't belong. So, instead of 2 genders now, we have 350. That way, nobody is really sure what the hell is going on at all. So, yeah. Yeah, I really, really firmly believe that. And I'm so appreciative of you all here and our community in general. And, all of the people that I feel like I have the privilege of being surrounded by in real life and virtually. There's just no bullshit. We're not going to play that game. And if there are discussions to be had, they can be compassionate, they can be intelligent, but also no bullshit. I'm just not going to do that. It's a waste of time. There's too many awesome things to work on. We all have such an amazing ability to create in the world. Why wouldn't we use our energy to create? And that's like the last I want to say about the, gender topic is like the people that are the most hateful in all of that, it's like they're just sitting around being hateful. Like, what are you actually doing to promote love and creativity in the world? What are you actually doing? You just want to point the finger, right? And be a troll or whatever the heck that is that people do with their time. So I don't relate, just go on your way, be you be you, and I'll be me. And we can still love each other, I'm sure, if we're both just being authentic, because that's really, I think, all that is being asked. But it's a huge thing to ask in a lot of places. Being authentic is not something people even are sure what that means anymore. So maybe that's a topic for next time, but I think that's a great ending for today. Thank you all for being here. I'm not quite sure how I'll label this YouTube video, just because there's so many controlling mechanisms at work already out there in the world. But I'm so glad you were here. And I very much look forward to seeing you all next week. And I will get to some of that podcasting with some of your amazing suggestions. So thank you, Lauren. Thank you, everybody. I'm not going to name everybody again, but I love you all so much. And it has been such a fun hour. It has flown by. Alrighty, everybody. Have a great week. I will see you soon.